Well, hi, friends, and welcome to NC Family's weekly update for the week ending September the 15th. Jerry, Sharon, how are y'all doing today?
Good, thanks.
Pressing on.
Pressing on. Well, friends, it literally feels like we have lived a lifetime in a week. There has been a tremendous amount and almost nothing that's happened at the General Assembly, both at the same time. I think it may be most helpful if we go back to kind of this point last week and talk about where we were and what has transpired since then to sort of lay the groundwork with where things are now, because it could be kind of confusing. So at this time last week, basically the legislature, the House and Senate had gone home, and the Senate was insisting, absolutely insisting, that if there weren't casinos in the budget, that there was going to be no budget. The House was saying that they did not have the votes to pass a budget with gambling in it by a simple majority, and so they were going to actually come back this week on Tuesday and take up a budget bill that did not have casinos or video lottery terminals in it. That did not happen. And the whole thing about the vote count in the House that apparently Senator Phil Berger, the President Pro Tem of the Senate, and Tim Moore, the Speaker of the House, had met, and they had some agreement that if a majority of the House Republican caucus agreed to and said that they would vote for a budget with casinos and video lottery terminals in it, that the House was going to move forward with that, and that the Senate was going to do the same. Well, the Speaker, Tim Moore, then after they kind of started looking at the head count of what the votes would be like, found that in fact, yes, there was a majority of the Republican caucus that would vote for gambling in the budget, but that considering where the Democrats may come out on that vote, that they probably could not get a simple majority of 61 votes in the House, not a veto-proof majority of 72, but a simple majority vote of 61. They could not reach that threshold in order to pass a budget with gambling in it. And so the Speaker said, I'm not going to put a bill on the floor, especially a budget bill on the floor, if we don't have the votes to pass it by at least a simple majority. Now, there was this back and forth between the House leadership and the Senate leadership. The Senate leadership saying that the House leadership was now reneging on a deal that they had made, and just all of this confusion and back and forth stuff. So come Tuesday, we were expecting that we could see a clean budget bill without gambling in it. That did not happen. And so there was a lot that took place that day. And it ended up that the House basically packed it in at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, adjourned their session for the day, and said, we're gone for the rest of the week. And we'll come back next week and figure out what's going on. So it's been a really confusing week, lots of ups and downs, and we're still uncertain what direction the legislature is going to take. So with that as sort of a foundation, Jerry, Sharon, kind of give us some of your perspectives on what took place.
Well, and it's helpful, John, that you gave that history. I don't want to take y'all back too much further in history, but the prior week, this agreement that John said we had understood existed, when they took the vote after hours, it was the second time, hours of the House Republicans caucusing, they came out and there was more than a majority opposed to it 2 weeks ago. And then whatever happened with pressure and who knows, we don't know.
Wheeling and dealing.
They came back and said, well, they do have a majority. But this is what's so sad when you have a government that's operating without people talking with each other. Apparently the Democrat and Republican, especially in the leadership, they said it yesterday, the Democrat leaders in the House and Senate said, nobody's come to us to talk to us at all. None. Not about any of this. But as we've talked with members, Democrats and Republicans in the House and in the Senate, we saw what apparently all of a sudden the House leadership saw. There is strong opposition to this among the Democrats on the House side. And then as the week went on, we found out the same is true in the Senate. This bill that they are trying to push through, that's the state budget, about $30 billion to look out for the millions of people in our state, is being held up over this, and people aren't even talking about it to even know that if it came forward like that, it would probably be defeated in the House and in the Senate.
Right,
And this is what happens when you don't have communication.
right, and to your point, I mean, it was tense down there.
Yeah.
I mean, really tense. Lots of meetings, lots of, well, lack of eye contact. We were able to talk with some people. We're down there working for everybody, for you and everyone in North Carolina, trying to get the best outcomes. But it was a pretty hard week to even have a lot of those conversations. They're keeping a lot of stuff close to the chest, and we're still working, but we still need you to pray to help us to enable them through God to change their hearts and minds.
Yeah, absolutely true. I mean, things are literally changing every minute, it seemed. A new rumor, a new factor, somebody switched their vote, and no, we verified that didn't happen. It's just a constant fluidity that, as Sharon said, just makes things very, very tense and very hard to get a handle on. Jerry referred to the Democrats. Senator Dan Blue, the minority leader in the Senate, and Representative Robert Reeves, the minority leader in the House, held a press conference yesterday basically saying this is ridiculous. We have majority and significant majority agreement on lots of issues in the House and the Senate, like Medicaid expansion, which of course some members don't agree with, but a lot do. Pay for teachers and schools, and money to help schools deal with HVAC problems, and all of these types of issues that there's general agreement on, that they're not moving forward with because the Republican leadership is so intent on gambling, and that's all they're focused on. Gambling is overtaking everything. And it's just crazy. We can't explain it. We don't understand it. Why this gambling fever has taken hold so strongly of particularly the leadership in the House and most especially on the Senate side. So this Democratic press conference yesterday was really interesting. They were just saying, look, we need to move forward with the things that we can agree with. Let's get those things done. And if you want to deal with gambling and take that up in a separate bill, then do that. But let's move forward with the best interest of the people of the state at heart. And I think, it was a very strong message.
Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting too, on a kind of personal note, but it's what applies to all of us and with the legislators. The morning of their last meeting this week, at home, we were reading the passage where God says, be strong and courageous. And then it's, I am with you. And then it said, meditate on my word day and night. Be strong and courageous, I am with you. And that's what I think we've been sharing information with them, but also that they share that with a number of the members. And that's what we want to encourage you all to share with them as well. We don't know what these pressures are that they're facing, but we have seen a number of votes move, and they are continuing to press in on them. And what they need, I know when God says encourage one another and build each other up, for y'all to be part of all of us encouraging people who know what the right thing is to do it.
Yeah. And I would just add to that, Jerry and Sharon, it's so important for people to stay engaged. I know we've been saying this, we sound like a broken record, saying the same thing week after week after week, but it is so true. I mean, we heard a rumor yesterday, and from very reliable sources, that they are considering adding a fifth casino to this commercial casino plan. This casino would be operated by the Cherokee tribe located in the western part of the state, but this casino would be located in Cabarrus County, which is in the Concord area, just northeast of Charlotte. So, and the efforts here, as far as we can tell, is to try to pick off some additional votes, maybe Republicans and Democrats, that this might be persuasive to, that, hey, if the Cherokee tribe gets another casino, we'll just add that into the mix if we can pick up a few more votes and, move the vote count toward being favorable toward including casinos and video lottery terminals in the budget. It's crazy.
Well, and in talking to some of the legislators and their assistants, we've been told, keep the calls coming. It makes a difference. It really does. And then other times we've talked to people who said, I haven't heard anything from anyone in my county. Well, as we know, we have a tendency to be like, well, it's not my backyard, so, how's it going to affect me? Gambling across the state of North Carolina will affect you.
Everybody.
Whether it is in your county or if it is later down the road, us helping to pay for the fallout from these kinds of decisions. So I would encourage everybody, even if these counties are not near you, or if you don't live in there, to still please speak up and let them know that we're opposed to this.
Yeah, another rumor that we heard yesterday too was that they are considering taking a significant expansion of opportunity scholarships out of the budget to try to garner more Democratic support for the budget and possibly avoid a gubernatorial veto, because the governor has said he would like to get rid of opportunity scholarships. So they would take that out of the bill, this combination budget gambling bill. They would take the opportunity scholarships out, try to pass the budget with gambling in it, and then come back later and take up a bill to expand opportunity scholarships, which would ultimately, and they could do that because Republicans have, or presumably they could do that because Republicans have supermajorities in both chambers of the legislature and could override a governor's veto of an opportunity scholarship expansion bill. But the end result would essentially be the same. And so for Democrats to even give consideration to something like that, to change their vote because opportunity scholarships are pulled out of the budget, only to have a separate bill come back later to be passed, it's going to end up in the same place anyway. So it's just, there are crazy things going on. And it's very difficult to keep tabs on what's happening. And so the most important thing that we can do is just to stay in the fight, to remain faithful, to, as Sharon and Jerry have said, to continue to contact your legislators. Things are changing moment by moment. And we're on this roller coaster ride. Legislators are on a roller coaster ride. They need the stability to hear from folks back home that say, hang in there, fight the good fight, do the right thing. Don't be persuaded by these promises of whatever. Do the right thing and vote your convictions. And so that's what we're trying to encourage our lawmakers to do as well. So I would just ask and urge you all to just continue with the prayers, especially that the Lord's will be done, that the efforts of the evil one will be thwarted, and that God's will have the day in the end. We don't know what next week is going to hold, but we definitely need your prayers. We know that whatever happens next week, that God knows already what has happened. So it's just, but it's critical that we remain engaged. So Jerry, Sharon, any kind of closing remarks or thoughts?
I just say amen to all that you've said, and amen. I mean, that God would work in people's hearts and minds to do what's right.
Absolutely.
Take care of the people of North Carolina. Don't bring harm. Take care of all this good that needs to happen.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
Well, it's really complicated, but it's also very simple. We need God to intervene. We need God's people to be praying for His intervention and for His will to be done. As always, we just are so appreciative of your support, your prayers, your financial support that enables us to remain on the front lines on a daily basis at the legislature as these battles are underway. Not coincidentally, our staff devotion Monday was on David and Goliath. It was planned by God. It wasn't planned by us, but it was such an important message for us to hear at the beginning of the week, that David took those 5 smooth stones and used the skills that God had given him to defeat the undefeatable Goliath. And we feel very much in the same kind of role, that, it's the Family Policy Council and a handful of allies that are out there, along with folks like you across the state, and these faithful legislators who are standing strong, standing firm in the face of giant opposition, over 70 lobbyists that are being paid to represent the gambling industry, the top leadership in our state legislature that is pushing this gambling fever. It's just crazy. But we know that God is on our side, and as people of God, we need to be praying to Him that He would intervene, and that by His grace, that His will be done. So friends, please join us, continue to be faithful in this fight. Please pray, support the Family Policy Council, and reach out to your legislators and continue to urge them to do the right thing. With that, we done?
Praise God.
All right.
Amen.
Have a great weekend. We will see you next week. Keep your eyes and ears open for your email inboxes for additional information about what's going on. And as always, as we've said already, thank you so much for your support, for your prayers. Keep it up, and we'll keep fighting the fight here. God bless you all. Thanks.